So this is maybe the, I don't know what number vlog that I've done today, because I really don't sleep. Sleep is non-existent in my world. My legs right now feel so, I don't even know what to describe it. How do I describe it? It's hard to move them. They feel kind of paralyzed. I've never had like leg issues in my life. I think I've been poisoned with like a paralytic, or what I consider a neurotoxin. Or maybe it's direct energy weapons, as people call them, you know, in the targeted community. Man, oh man. I don't even, so, I don't know. I'm very distraught because, look, Bonnie licks my legs. She knows, Bonnie knows. I don't think I have like MS. I hope I don't have MS. But just literally my legs right now feel like, it's just, I don't know how to describe it. Like they feel so swollen and sore. Not like if I went running or something. It's more like, hi, Bibber. Like as if someone was, like as if I got stung by a bee. That's the best way to describe it. It's like getting stung by a bee, and imagine your leg swells up. That's what it feels like. But my entire leg from my hip down. But I've learned, you know, mercury would do that to you. Thallium will also do that to you. Bee venom. It's insane. You know, I can't even, like, the fact that I'm saying these things is just crazy. And only people in the targeted community would understand this, because people that, if you're not in that community, it'll be, like, totally foreign to you. The fact that I have to think about hitmen and assassins. So I came to this realization, you know, a few minutes ago, because I was talking to another person who's targeted, and he was saying that you know, he alleges that this is the time that made that, you know, because we were corresponding back and forth via text on WhatsApp, and he was saying that this is like the end of the year, they're gonna like off people or something. They're gonna get rid of like a bunch of TIs. That's what he alleges. I don't know where he got that from or the source, but, and if you're watching my channel, I think, you know, he follows my channel, but that is frightening, you know, to know that there's innocent people on a hit list or a kill list of sorts. And I feel, you know what I feel like? I feel like, you know, like when someone holds someone hostage, that's what it feels like right now. I feel like I'm making a video to like people like, hey, I'm being held hostage. Still don't know why. The only thing I can say is like this guy that this whole thing happened with, that I did the police report on, and the FBI IC3.gov cybercrime thing on, it said that he was on a watch list for narcotics. But at this point, I would love to believe that it's all fake. Like I would love to believe that it was just a prank and a joke. But my life did change after that completely, from top to bottom. And then proving it has deemed futile. The latest and the greatest, I've come to realize that I do think a smear campaign was started. Like, I think people made up a really bad rumor that I was like a trafficker or something, or a pedophile. I just got this energy. I don't know why. The only thing is I will say is that like I get hired, or I was hired. Maybe, and this was, I think, recently, maybe like in the past year or 2 years or so. And it explains why I get poisoned. Because if people hear false rumors about somebody and they think they're doing right by the community by like taunting this individual, that, you know, because I was not a teacher. I did teaching I wasn't really a teacher. I was like a TA. I was like a teacher's assistant, and I worked with preschool kids and infant kids. I worked with an after-school care in one school in Miami, Florida. That was my school, actually, that I went to growing up. And then in Falls Church, Virginia, when I moved there, I worked at a really prestigious, amazing, like, there, I can't say anything about, you know, they were very kind of regimented. I will be honest with that. They were very regimented. But actually, I'm gonna still put, the heat makes my legs feel better. But for the most part, I felt really lucky to be trained by these people, you know, in this school. I don't know if I could say it. It's the Goddard School, and they're all over. I didn't have the best experience just because I also was being targeted and going through a bunch of crazy shit. But like the school itself, the curriculum, I think it's called Wonder Learning, and they used Bright Wheel. I don't know if it's called Kaleidoscope. They used not Kaleidoscope. It was called Cambu. The fuck. It was Cambu software, and they used Bright Wheel to do like the login and the registration for the kids. And I mean, I got hired. I don't think on my background check, I mean, even like, I remember there was one lady, her name was Miss Polly. She came in and she said like, oh, your fingerprints for the FBI came back clear, you know, like you're in the clear, you're good to go. And I was like, okay. I still feel like my life is in danger, you know, and proving it is so hard. I made peace with the fact recently that like these people could murder me, you know. My dad says otherwise. He says, oh, that's not gonna happen, you're not gonna die. And I'm like, you don't know that. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm drinking water with, it sounds crazy, with some sort of apatoxin or apitoxin in it. And that, if you don't know what that is, so bee venom, it's used to help shrink tumors and hope, I can't remember what exactly, but I don't think I have cancer. I've pulled cards on myself with my like medical oracle deck that I made myself, and it says false alarm oncology, you know, so that's good. But I still want to get testing done on my own to figure out what's going on, just, you know, but it feels like I have shards of glass or something piercing my legs right now. That's what it feels like. And thallium will do that. And also my hair's been coming out, but also stress can do that. And that's the thing, is that all the things that I'm talking about, you know, feeling like there's a lump in your throat, that could indicate, that's called globus, and that could indicate anxiety. What else have I? Numbness and tingling could be something medical. The leg weakness thing could be just, you know, being tired or lack of exercise, but it's not like that. Like my legs, literally, it's hard to move them. They feel paralyzed. That's not normal. So the way I'm going about this is, I don't mind sharing this, and I did a video, which I will put up maybe soon, trying to tell, you know, I know there was one person that left a comment on my video saying, I don't want to hear how to cope through gangstalking and targeting. I want to apprehend the people doing it, and, you know, I want them to stop it. I get that. Trust me, I'm right there with you, sister, brother, whoever you are. You know, I have the same sentiments. I would love for this BS to stop. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But the only thing, what keeps me going, and I've thought about this before, is that, you know, like with the Holocaust, how when Jewish men and women, Polish, Ukraine, whatever, you know, they were kept in the concentration camps. Can you imagine that? And that makes me want to cry. Like, imagine, I feel like there's a lot of parallels between what happened to me and what happened to the men and women in the Holocaust, because when you think about it, how horrible that situation must have been for those people. You know, they were herded onto I don't know, it was a train, and, you know, the Gestapo, the Nazis, you know, the SS, they came and then they said you have to leave your house, and, you know, they marked them. I think they had the Star of David, I'm not sure, on their clothing at the time, because I think they wanted to designate the Jews or something. It's so horrible. The racism, the prejudice. And just that my legs really hurt. And they're swollen too, like my toes, like my foot. See, it's something I'm allergic to. Whatever is in my water, it's something I'm allergic to. If I showed my foot right now, it's the size of, like, it's inflated and it's blanched. It's like white. I don't know, just like, it's edema, so it's completely swollen. It is what it is. I can't do anything about it, so you cry it out, you feel the pain, and you move forward. But if you think about it, the Holocaust, right? And I'm trying to give other people that are targeted a perspective here, and some hope, because I think hope is really important. And you know, they were herded onto a train. They had to leave their home behind. And they got, you know, branded eventually, right? When they got the number tattooed on their wrist, or not their wrist, their forearm. And with like a very shoddy needle. And they had their belongings thrown away. And then they were separated from their families, you know, the men, women, children, women that were pregnant, you know, men and their wives and their kids. I mean, just imagine, like, can you imagine being separated from your family? And the fear that those people must have experienced standing in line. They did a reenactment of it with like a limited TV series. I couldn't bear to watch the whole thing. I got through some of the book. It was called The Tattooist of Auschwitz. And the main protagonist is Lali Sokolov, and then Gita is the girl. And it's like, you ask yourself, how did some of those people survive that, the atrocity of the Holocaust? You know, because they literally were stripped of everything. They were given striped pajamas with a star on it. Their heads were shaved. Same for the women. They lived on wooden barracks with no pillows. They were stripped of their everything, their identity, their jobs, their purpose. And you ask yourself, how do you live through that when you have nothing left? Like, what hope do you have? Because they were treated like dirt, like cattle. And I feel like that right now. I know I have a lot of self-worth. Like, I know I matter and stuff. It pains me. It's heartbreaking that this stuff goes on in society. And that there are people that are police officers that don't give a shit. Genuinely, they don't give a shit. Because I'm sure they're in on it, or they get paid. You know how the Nazis got paid, right? And it's funny because in Nazi Germany, you know, that whole thing, they did illegal experiments on the men, women, and children. And then they put them into labor, like slave labor. They had their own people throw bodies, the dead bodies, onto trucks, and they put, like, imagine them piling a bunch of people into a room, and they think that they're going, you know, who knows what, and then they lock the door, and then, you know, they in a lot of ways, that's the same thing that happened to me. I know it's hard to believe, I promise. Like, I know it's crazy to say that in my homes and the apartments I was exposed to gases like aerosols and really cold, frigid air that made my lungs burn, like argon gas and maybe krypton or carbon gas, you know. Those are suffocating gases. I mean, it felt like my lungs were being, shrunken, because that deprives your lungs of oxygen. And I went through that. And there was, if you're wondering what that feels like, there's a scene in a show. I forgot where. I don't know, it was AMC or Paramount or Stars, or it was on MGM channel. And I don't know why it came up on my Roku in Vermont when I was living there. It came up on the side like as an ad, and it said The Institute, and I was like, what in God's name is this show? And he actually looked like my I was gonna say my nephew, my cousin, that lives in New York, and he's older, but like he looks just like him, the character. And I was like, oh, he looks kind of like, so, you know. And I started to watch the show, and it's based off of a Stephen King book, but in one of the scenes, they torture these kids that have psychic abilities, like ESP with telepathy, telekinesis. They traffic the kids, they kidnap. This is a Stephen King book, mind you, and I'd never heard of this book. I'd never heard of the, and like, it's just a show, but it was very, like, it was scary and like a psychological thriller and suspenseful. But they basically would, this kid had the ability to move objects around. Like, they noticed it was, one of the first scenes, the opening scenes, they were at a pizza parlor, and the kid got very angry about something. The main character, he was a teenager, and he got very angry, and it was very intense and heated. And the pizza tray, the stainless steel pizza tray, it started to move, because it was his emotions and his mind is so powerful that he was able to move objects around. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I'm not a scientist. But it's just a TV show. But like, basically this group would seek out talent or gifted children, if you will, and they would mold them. They would take them from their homes. The parents would later end up dead. Sorry if I spoil the premise of the show. And his parents specifically ended up dead because he went missing. And then they recreated his room, and in this building that looked like a prison and had a little windows, and it was a concrete cement building. It wasn't very pretty. And they took these kids, and they told them, and they put little posters up in the hallway like, you can do it, you're helping humanity, and this and that. So they basically would train the kids through sensory deprivation and psychological torture, because they believed that through that your psychic abilities get stronger. And this one kid, he told them, like, he was very blatant, he was very bold and rebellious, kind of, in their eyes. And he's like, you guys do realize that you kidnapped me, right? Like, the authorities, like, should know about this. And the main lady, who was the head leader of the whole thing, and they weren't part of the FBI, like, they weren't law enforcement, they were just this group of people that, like, took kids and they molded them to, like, be, I don't know, like, I'm not going to spoil it. You have to watch the rest of it. It was, I don't know if they got renewed for another season. I don't think so. But man, my point in saying there was a scene where they had to go and they clipped the kids, like, just like, talk about the Holocaust. They branded the kids with a tracker on their ear with a red dot on it, so they knew where the kids were at all times. They let the kids do whatever they want. If the kids were like 12 years old and they wanted to smoke cigarettes, they could. If they wanted to indulge in eating cake all day. They didn't care. And, this, and if you had TP, which is telepathy, telekinesis, and PC, which is precognitive, you were treated like gold. Like, you were treated like a king or a queen, because that was like huge to them. Like, oh my God, you could foretell or foresee the future or have precognitive dreams and things like that. Then you were like treated like gold. Again, I don't want to give it away too much, but in one of the scenes, they, what happened with one of the kid, it was a young boy, it was really sad. There was a little boy who was like, I don't want to say a savant, but he was smart, this kid. And then, so like when they rally them up and they recruit them, like cattle, they like, when like horses or oxen or cattle are graded on their stature and their physique and stuff like that, like a stallion, like, or a mare in a horse race, right? They kind of did the same thing with the kids, and they're like, oh, this one's really promising and he has a lot of potential and whatever. And he was this little kid, curly little hair. He kind of looks like a younger version. If you've seen the show Step Up, or the movie Step Up, that series, there's a character named Moose who's a dancer, and he looks kind of like that, but the really, really younger version of that. And he has like, which is by Adam Savoni or something. I think that's the name of the guy who plays the part of Moose. But his hair is really curly, and it's this cute little kid. And what they do is, this guy his name is Eric in the show, and he was an asshole. This guy, so he was the foreman or the henchman for the whole operation, and he treated the kids like dirt. He kicked them, he slapped them, he punched them, he bullied the crap out of them. And because when they were defiant and like, no, I don't want to participate in whatever, because they would do all these tests on the kids, and they strap them into a chair, and they wanted them to use their mind to like do shit. And so anyways, this one kid, little boy, they put him in a box, like a plexiglass box, and then he pulls a lever and he deprives the kid of oxygen. And that's what, for me, like when I was in the apartments that I lived in, that's what happened to me. And I could not breathe. And I know you can say, like, I know anyone watching this would be like, Ashley, that's insane. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's very probable. When there's bad people out there who don't like somebody, and like for me, I did a report on a guy, because all my gangstalking and targeting started when I feel like I'm doing like a interview. My gangstalking and targeting started after I did a police report on a specific person, and that I said was stalking and hacking me. And then a detective said you have to escalate it to the FBI, and then I did that. It was just an online thing, to report it. It was very easy, but no one took it seriously. And then things got really, really bad. I moved from Miami, but in every apartment I was in, I was I don't know how. I was tortured, and proving it is futile. And I'm reminded of the Holocaust because they tortured those men and women. They treated them like nothing. Like nothing. I mean, these are men and women that had lives, Some of them were booksellers in, boutique bookshops. Some of them owned, bakeries or were doctors, and then they just herded them on a train. And then imagine you arrive at a concentration camp, and then you're stripped of your belongings. They took everything from the people. They took everything. Their watches, their shoes, their rings, their diamonds, everything, earrings, headbands, bows, pocketbooks, purses. See, I say pocketbook. I'm more, my language is very, I'm gonna say archaic, but a little bit more formal. But I also talk sometimes like a millennial. I'll be like, yeah, bro, that's so fire, that's so Gucci. Like, I will say that sometimes. But for the most part, my vernacular is pretty, I think, extensive, you know, more formal. But I do kind of equate this to the Holocaust because I feel like I have no rights anymore. I feel like people just are turning a blind eye and they just don't care. I feel like I almost like was experimented on in a sense. I know that sounds crazy. You know, and I'm trying to make this brighter. And I say that because it's just, I'm not getting any reprieve. I'm not getting any help from anybody. And I feel like everybody knows. I feel like people have tried to expose me to toxins, bacteria, viruses, gases, just to see, I don't know if it's like they want to see how protected I am by God as a joke, or if it's like something, there's a misunderstanding and a smear campaign started and people think that they're doing right by the community because they're like, oh, she's a bad person. I've never engaged in any sort of illicit behavior with children, trafficking. I feel like compelled to say that because I don't know what lies or rumors are being said about me. You know, and you know, slander, defamation is damaging to one's reputation and character. Like one lie can turn into a bigger lie, and then I'm left jobless and almost homeless because some asshole or jerk decided to either frame me possibly or you know, make up a lie that wasn't true. Or God forbid, you know, people play dirty and they get doppelgangers, they get lookalikes. I mean, I'm still here, I'm not arrested, which is a good thing, but I feel like I've been close to where people really try to push the envelope. You know, there was a moment there literally for an entire year I didn't get called back by any company at all. So I came to the conclusion, I go, I may one day literally pass away. You know, we all will, right? We all will. That's inevitable. I just didn't think it would be because of gangstalking and targeting. Because every day, I kid you not, every day is a battle because my food, and I know someone's gonna go, oh, you're scared of food and water. Trust me, this is how fucked up this is. The people in on it, they'll get people to be able to not be affected by it, because I do think they give something to other people so that they don't get affected by it, like an antidote or something. I know this sounds very sci-fi and dystopian, but if they can hurt a bunch of beagles on a farm or wherever for illegal, you know, medical testing, they could do the same to humans. Because if you don't know about the Ridgeland Farms and the beagles, go look it up. Those beagles have suffered so much. They were put masks on their face and infused with toxic gases and other things to sedate them and drug them, and then they used tubes. They stuck tubes down their throats, and they gave them like heavy metals and a bunch of other shit. And it's interesting how you see history repeat itself, you know. But I came to the conclusion, I go, Ashley, you could pass away from this. It's very possible. Not like me taking myself out. I don't ever plan on doing that, by the way. Just wanted to preface that if anything ever happens to me, I did not ever do anything to hurt myself. And if you go, oh, you have a death wish for coming on here and speaking about it, well, you know what? I matter. I had this beautiful life before all of this shit happened. Beautiful life. I used to go running every day in Coral Gables, Florida. I used to teach yoga on the weekends. I used to go to Graziano's and get these little cannolis, and they were so good. I used to get an acai bowl from Green Street Cafe on Geralda. And I used to ask for no banana because I don't eat banana. And they were so nice to me over there. Like, I would go before I taught my yoga class and I'd say, hey, do you mind if you do this? And this one lady was so sweet. She was like, oh yeah, I'll make sure that you don't have any banana. And I'm like, thank you so much. And then I would get my little granola. I said, can I get extra granola on top? And they would do granola. And then, what else? I got bee pollen, funny enough. I got hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds. And then the granola was so good. It was like clusters of just like honey and oats. And it was the best granola I've ever had. And it kind of tastes like a slushie. In Christmas time, I used to go to, we had this little Christmas park that they would decorate. And then they had the Junior Orange Bowl parade. And then Coral Gables was like decorated with like beautiful like twinkling lights. And they'd put these beautiful little like decorations hanging off of the side of each pole. And I would, you know, when I went on I called it my walk run. I would tell my mom, hey, I'm gonna go for a walk run. And then I would go outside the patio door because I went down the back way. And then, you know, I'd say hi to my little cats. It was Simba and Yeti, and then it was Pepito and Shadow or whatever. But more so Yeti, or no, Puma and Simba. And then I would say hi to them and then pet them. And then I'd go in my little workout clothes. And I would go, and then I would get my passion iced tea with hibiscus, you know, with lemonade at Barnes & Noble, and I'd get the M&M Blondie. You know, that was really good. They make the best sweets in Barnes & Noble. Shout out to Barnes & Noble. And I kind of mourn the life that I had. And I wonder if it's ever going to be the same ever again. Because I don't know who I pissed off. I mean, I have an idea, but I don't know who, like, else that I pissed off. And I don't deserve this, you know? I also don't want to be limited by fear, because I did speak to this one person and he did say, oh, this is, and I want to be mindful of the interactions I have with people, because some people could be sources of refuge and some people can be sources of anxiety and stress, and I don't need to be fed either lies or other stuff, you know, about, you know, people. And I'm trying to, because I don't want to say my intuition is off or anything about people, but because I trust people from the get-go. I shouldn't do that. I am too trusting. But because I do that, I put myself at a disadvantage because I want to see the good in everybody. So, you know, I go, okay, they have good intentions. They won't hurt me. And then I found out that people want to hurt me, you know. But this one person was saying, oh, this is the year that they want to kill them, you know, kill us all off. And I'm like, this is crazy. I mean, think if I tell someone, oh, my food has botox in it, or my water. Do you know what botox does to the body? Like, that's what people inject as a paralytic to stop their muscles and their thing just to not move. Imagine if you ingested that, which I think I did. You basically become like paralyzed. You can stop breathing because your airway gets constricted. You can get spasticity and rigidity in your hands. You can lose the ability to speak. I've had dry throats, you know. And bacteria, if you don't know, that's botulinum toxin. It's a neurotoxin. So a neurotoxin, right? Break the words down. Neurotoxin, neurology, nerves, toxin. And in the Holocaust, they tortured a bunch of men and women repeatedly. They did experiments, medical experiments. Dr. Mendeleev did all that stuff without giving the women anesthesia. He cut into them. He did surgery. I mean, it's horrible. Stitches, everything. The pain. And I can relate. The only thing that I have, I don't say keeps me going, but, you know, there is the story of the tattooist of Auschwitz, which is Lali Sokolov, where he in the midst of all the chaos, you know, he unfortunately, he was smart, and in order to survive, he became a tattooist. So he actually branded his own people, which is fucked up. But he was so determined to live, right? Like he said, this is not going to be my story. He literally said, that's what differentiates the people who are survivors from the people who are not. The ones who say, I am going to get through this, and they try their hardest, and they say, I'm not going to let anything, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I will push forward, even if, and they have to be willing to die for it. That's another thing. You have to be willing to. It's almost like, you know, when a soldier enlists in the army, and they know that there's a possibility if they get drafted to war that they could be on the front lines and they could die. It's kind of like that. You have to be willing to, when you step up and you do this kind of stuff, like what I'm doing, you have to be willing to say, hey, one day I could pass away. But if what I'm doing starts a domino effect to start change for a bunch of other people, then you know what? Then I'm good. Because all I ever wanted in my life, I said, if I can make people smile, and I made a positive impact in one kid's life, then I'm good. Because this is very scary for me. I was reading about, because I was doing a video earlier today about, I mentioned, you know, Matt Rife and crystals, and I don't know why I mentioned it. Oh, my journey into spirituality, that's why. And there's a part where he does in one of his skits, he's like, the girl had crystals, and, you know, it was kind of funny. And I was like, oh, I used to be that girl, like that was me. You know, the weirdo, you know, to a regular, maybe more conservative guy, I'd be considered weird. So, you know, but anyways, because of that, I typed in on Google, I misspelled, I was looking up agonite or actinite. I can't remember what crystal it was, but then I came across something called aconite, ACONITE. And I go, oh my God, there's so many plants out there that are poisonous that someone could like put in my food just to be like, hey, we want to test this out on her. Let's see how she does with this because she hasn't died with this, so let's try to do this on her. And I don't know if that's legal in the United States to do that. I don't know about other countries, but I don't know, you know, if it's a Stanford or Harvard, I don't know if they do that kind of stuff where they I don't want to say they secretly test on humans in labs and stuff. I don't know. That would be really far out. That'd be grounds for a lawsuit, class action lawsuit. Because illegal medical testing on humans, it's like, you know, it's wrong. So, anyways, going back to the movie, Lolly, the main character, the man, protagonist, right? He takes up a small role. He learns the way of the camps, and he says, "I'm not gonna let myself die in here." And the way that they depicted it in the show is that every time someone passed away, they showed a picture of, they did like a bell, like a drum, you know, and then they would show the picture of all the people, just like how I'm doing now, with a serious face, like, and then they would show another person with distinct features and distinct skin tone color, and it was very real and raw. And you know, he said, I'm not gonna let this, you know, he said, I'm not gonna die here. It's funny because there was a line that one of the younger boys that there was a kid that looked up to him, and he was kind of a mentor for this kid. He kind of took him under his wing and took care of him. Because, you know, everyone gets separated from their family, their fathers, uncles, stuff like that. And I remember in one of the scenes, the kid goes, "But Lolly, I haven't even had sex yet." Think about like the realness of that. Sex is like a rite of passage for everyone, when you come of age. For me, it was later on in life, but I remember I saw that scene. I don't remember. I think I started watching it when I was in Virginia. A little bit of the show and on my phone. And I'll never forget, there was a moment where I kind of resonated with that, because I was like, I'm not kidding, when I lived in Virginia, the torture with like the weird air stuff, the gas stuff was so bad, like I couldn't breathe. It was so cold. Like I go, who's doing this stuff to me? And I thought I was gonna die. I felt like my head was gonna explode. I thought I was gonna have a stroke. And at the same time, simultaneously, on my YouTube feed, I was getting things that it said death by lethal injection. So it was death. They said new ruling, death by oxygen. And I go, oh my God, am I being exposed to copious amounts of oxygen? Because they said it was a more humane way to die. And I'm like, oh my God, who is exposing me to oxygen right now? I didn't know that oxygen can be fatal at high levels, or toxic. There's oxygen toxicity. And then there was another time where it said on my YouTube feed, death by lethal injection. And I'll never forget, I went to an orthopedic for my knee. The back of my knee was killing me. It was like pain all the time. And I got worried that I had a clot or something. And then they looked and they said it was nerve bundle fiber irritation. And so he says, we can do a nerve block for you and that will numb the pain and you won't feel it. And I go, okay. He did an ultrasound with the Doppler. He put the gel, and then he inserted the needle right, and I felt it, and it was and I go, oh my God. But then after that, I'll never forget it. I barely could walk the next day. I could barely walk the next day. I will never forget that as long as I live. I go, what was I injected with? I couldn't walk. And I was so confused, and I remember calling my dad, and I go, Dad, I can't walk. I can't move my legs. It shows you how the mind is so fragile, because on my YouTube feed, I was seeing stuff, and I was being so cyberbullied, and it said death by lethal injection, and I was like, and I go, I just got an injection in my knee, but from my waist down, I can barely move. And I go, who's doing this to me? And I prayed so hard. I said, please, God, let me be able to walk again. And then I remember I went to Innova when I was in Virginia, and I spoke to a doctor, a neurologist, over telehealth. And I didn't really get anywhere. He told me I need to do a nerve conduction test, which is when they put a needle and they do electrical stimulation. And I said, I don't know what's going on with my body. And I said, I have numbness and tingling in my hands and fingers. My muscles bilaterally, both legs at the same time simultaneously go numb. Like my quads. And I said, I don't want to lose the ability to walk. And I go, I don't think I have Ehlers-Danlos, because that's a connective tissue degenerative disorder. Ehlers-Danlos is when your collagen formation starts to deplete and deteriorate. So that, collagen is like not a net, but it's like a reticular formation. It's like it helps bind and keep things together, like our skin. We have natural collagen in our skin. That's what gives the elasticity, of the skin. When you lack collagen, you're the firmness isn't there. So then, so I was trying to rule out everything. I was like, CP, cerebral palsy, that's in spina bifida, that's early years. Muscular dystrophy, Duchenne's, that's early years. ALS, I didn't think about that. That was, no, but so I started to freak out, and then slowly but progressive. I remember I called my dad and I said, Dad, I can't move my legs. He's like, go to the gym, you know, work your legs out. I know you don't want to. And I tried. And then I wondered, I go, did I get injected with like botox or something into my knee? Which that would be medical malpractice if someone did that to me. But anyways, going back to the thing with the Holocaust, Lale Sokolov was like, I'm gonna do whatever I can to survive, and then he decided he was someone took him under a French guy said, you know, named Pepin, and he said, if you want to live, you know, I can help you. And because he started to find his allies and his resources, and so he decided to become a tattooist and do the numbers and brand other Jews for the camps. And they looked at him with such disdain, you know, because he was in the same garb and the same attire with the striped pajamas. People probably would spit at him or something, you know, and then he, in the midst of the chaos, and just one day he came across Gita, you know, and I forgot if like Slovakia or wherever she was from, or Romania or something like that, or Latvia. She was Middle Eastern European. And he, you know, the moment he saw her, he fell in love with her. And I don't know, people say love at first sight and all that, but he was at least almost smitten or infatuated. And you can imagine you're going through a really hard time, right? And he meets this girl, and I guess it was the twinkle in her eye, and the girl who played the part, the actress, I think she did really well. But he was the one to do the number for her on her arm. And he told himself, you know, after meeting her, he said, I have to see her, you know, again. And he went looking for her, and he found in the books, because, you know, he had a handler that was a Nazi that would, you know, they had it was a strange relationship, but, you know, because I was his handler essentially, but he knew how to not manipulate but work it's almost like in a way they developed a friendship, this one Nazi and him, you know, but he treated him like dirt. The Nazi treated him horribly, but like he basically offered, because the guy was a pig, this Nazi guy was a pig, and he wanted to know how to like get girls or whatever. So Lali like explained how you need to be a gentleman, and you need to, you know, court the woman and show her respect if you really want to have, you know, stuff like man talk, you know. And the Nazi, the SS guy was like, he was like, fuck that. He was like, I don't want that. He's like, I just want to bed her. I want to fuck her, you know, like a pig. And he was just so, Lali, the character himself, I think he was played by Jonah Bauer-King, who was also, I think, in The Little Mermaid movie. And it goes to show you that there are good men out there who are gentlemen and have class and treat women with respect. And this is years ago, right? 1940, 1945, 46, or earlier. And but he said, I have to find her. And he eventually did. And then, I mean, but they could have gotten in a lot of trouble because, you know, she actually got sick at one point. I don't know if she had typhoid fever or tuberculosis or something, but she got really sick, and she needed medicine, and he ended up somehow able to go to the infirmary and get that for her. But they did it was very risky, the whole thing, but they were able to somehow, some way move up in the ranks, and, you know, unfortunately, you know, women got raped by the Nazis too. It was horrible. But I realized today, I go, I could die from whatever this thing is. And I go, at this point, I go, I think it's already, I'm into like deep with like talking about it. So, you know, if I help somebody and if I start a domino effect, then I did what I needed to do. There's a lot more that I still want out of life that I want to do, but there's some things that are out of my control, and groups like with elite people that I don't even know about. I thought the world was good, you know, and I still do, but there's a lot of things that I don't know about. And I don't think I want to. I think my heart would be really broken. My heart was already broken at the fact that this stuff happens, you know. That police officers are mean and cruel, and that military men are assholes sometimes. Not all of them, but like they participate in the gangstalking bullshit. And because I'm different, you know, because I'm gifted or whatever, because there's speculation that if you're spiritual or whatever, or have, you know, extrasensory abilities and psychic abilities, you're branded and, you know, you're groomed and molded. And I'm like, I don't know this bullshit. I just want a normal fucking life. My life was normal before all this shit. And so I mentioned the tattoos of Auschwitz for the people that are targeted out there, because there is hope, you know, like you have to create that. If you feel like it's not there, you have to become that. You have to become the hope. And, you know, I'm in pain every day, like literally. I haven't had even the cookie. I got a cookie thing or my parents did when I went to their apartment. I got a cookie. I love cookies so much. You know, I grew up when I went to my Nana's house, and this is the reason why. Every Friday night, we would go to my Nana's house in Pinecrest, Florida, and my cousin, she also loves chocolate chip cookies, and you know, I don't know if she got dubbed the Cookie Monster, and then I got dubbed the Cookie Monster, but my Nana, without fail, every Friday night, she had a box of Publix cookies ready for me, and they were so good, and she, it just sucks because it's so different now. Life is so different, and I didn't deserve this. No one does. But sometimes I'll eat cookies now and they taste like heavy metal. Like I'll eat it and I'm like, why does this taste like heavy metal? Or like a metallic taste. Or I'll eat some of it and then I'll feel weird after, like I'm gonna faint. And I go, what did they put in there, you know? But when I went to my Nana's house, she would have this, you know, clear plastic container of these large chocolate chunk cookies. And it was so good. And then she would have a glass of ice cold, you know, milk, whole milk, without fail, every Friday. And then she would give my dad and my mom like loaf cake, like chocolate cake. She tried to feed us like so much. And I was really spoiled. I was very spoiled. And I'm intuitive, and that's the shitty part, is that, you know, I can sense things before they happen, or I can feel energy, and I know when something feels off and feels wrong. And I can't even eat, like, even now, like, sometimes, like, I get paranoid, and I go, can someone put something in eggs? I'm not kidding. I ate eggs 2 weeks ago, a certain batch of eggs, and my stomach, oh my God, I felt horrible. The top half of my stomach, I go, what was in the eggs? And now I learned that there's fake eggs. I didn't know that there's real eggs and fake eggs. I didn't know this. And I go, man, these people are going hardcore. Like hard fucking core. When I go in a grocery store now, it's so funny, and I love food. You know, I love food. I never thought you know, I'm a foodie. And I know some people are like, oh, you like that, maybe you like food too much and you have an addiction. No, it's not that. It comes from a background in hospitality, and I know culturally food brings people together for, you know, gatherings. And, you know, I felt really proud of myself that I learned how to cook in the past year and a half, because I sucked at it. When I was in Virginia, I literally, I kid you not, like, I set off the fire alarm like 3 times, and I had to open all the windows, put the air purifiers on, because I would burn everything, my waffles, the pancakes, my papitas. When I made chicken, forget about it. My go-to was like chicken tenders and papitas. There's if you ever, by the way, I haven't had them in like a while, but there's these papitas are French fries, if you don't. So papita fritas are French fries in Spanish, but they're in the shape of a happy face, and they are, oh my god, there was a restaurant in Miami in Coconut Grove called Mr. Mo's, and Mr. Mo's, they had these little happy face. They were like not like tater tots, but they were like so crunchy on the outside and, you know, toasted, and on the inside it was like mashed potato, and it was warm. Oh my god, it was so good. And then I found the same ones that were like replicas of it in the grocery store in Philadelphia, and I go, oh my god. And the brand is called McCain Smiles, and it stuck with me because it made me think of John McCain, you know, the former senator. And so that was nice. I liked that correlation because I think he was a good guy. I don't know him personally. But yeah, if you ever want a really good French fry, go look up McCain Smile fries. They're like these little, you know, they're cute little papitas. So anyways, but, you know, now with food and stuff, it's like, it's night and day. And I don't know who would be so mean and snarky and just monstrous to do that to my food. You know, and when I used to do delivery apps, you know, they can see if someone, when they hack your phone and they clone it and screen mirror or whatever, they could see exactly what I buy. They know my habits, my consumer habits. That's not fair to me or anybody. But I came to the conclusion today, I go, I could die from this thing. Because when I let my guard down and I trust people, I even thought, you know, I can shake someone's hand and they could have anthrax, or not anthrax, but they could have something on it, and then I wouldn't even, you know. And then I go, you know. When people want people gone, that's what they do. They put hits out on people. And that's exactly what I think happened to me. It's remitting, it's recurring. But I haven't been able to be taken out yet, so people are like, well, what do we do? And I don't think that's an experiment. I don't look at that as a test. Oh, let's see how many hits she can take, or if she can bypass this hit. I don't know who in their right mind thinks that's normal or kosher to do, but that's very illegal. But hey, when people want someone gone, the mafia they don't give a shit. We don't know who runs what, you know. All I know is that I didn't deserve this. And I waited a long time. I've been waiting a long time. And not all, you know, police officers are upright. Not all federal agents are on the upright. You know, that's sad to me. That hurts me. Because to me, you know, I told myself, I go, if anyone is so lucky to be able to walk the halls of the White House or the Capitol, you know, it kind of reminds me like when I was at FIU, at the Modesto Medic campus, they have this seal on the ground right before you walk into the main terminal of the, you know, it kind of looks like an airplane hangar, I'm going to be honest. If you haven't been to FIU in Miami, it looks like, you know, you walk in, but they have a seal on the ground outside, and it's bad luck to walk on it, so you walk around it. But I told myself, I go, anybody, I imagine they have like the eagle, right? The presidential seal on the ground of the Capitol. And I go, if anybody would be so egregious or just inconsiderate or ungrateful to be in a position of leadership, I don't think people understand the magnanimity and the responsibility that comes with that. You know, I don't think people understand. It's the bald eagle is not just a bird to me. That's a symbolism of refinement, of grace, of being dignified. It's a symbol of liberty, freedom. Even the way that, you know, a bald eagle looks, from its beak to the ratio from the beak to the top. I mean, it has a certain sense of, you know, regal essence. And how many people walk those halls every day that they don't give a shit? I'm not saying now, people, just anyone in general. And the fact that just people are like, gangstalking? Oh, there's a bunch of people crying about what? They're crying about what? Targeting? Like, they're sad about people driving what? Cop cars around them? They need to grow up. Oh, no, there's this one woman who she's going through it pretty bad. Yeah, that's me. That's Ashley with a J, last name. I don't want to say it's the government. I don't want to say that. It could be gangs. It could be a gang cartel. But it's happening on U.S. soil. And when I went to Philadelphia, I had a bunch of cops giving the nastiest look. Same thing in Virginia. Vermont, not as prevalent because it was a small town. But those are Americans, not, you know, so I don't know what was said about me. I don't know what was done, per se. And I've listened to other card readers and things, and I go, but for me, I felt like I've been a prisoner in a concentration camp. I mean, I looked like one. I took pictures of myself in the bathroom on Google Keep. I would take pictures and I would track it. And they're in the Google Cloud somewhere. I looked horrible. Horrible. Oh, and then during that time, that was the time when 2 or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, when I got drugged with the fentanyl stuff. I think it was fentanyl or some morphine or something bad. And I have the video of it. I'm kind of scared to put a video up of myself of how maybe people would believe me more, because I recorded myself and I tried so hard to stay awake and focus, but my eyes were so like glazed over. And I just kept remembering, I kept trying to breathe. And I kept looking at Bonnie because she ate the food that I ate too. And I go, please, God, please, I don't want to. And I go, who would do this to another human being? Like, how do you not have kindness in your soul to treat someone like that? Like I'm nothing. And then just stand back because it doesn't affect you directly, right? So people don't give a shit. Oh, it doesn't affect me, so I'm not going to worry about her problems. Yeah, but my problems for one are problems for all. I remember, I think Kamala Harris said that she said harm to one is harm to all. I think, I'm not sure. She did something like that. She said like she used to, for her dockets or something, for her cases, she used to, it wasn't whatever against something, the people against whatever. It was, or no, she would put the people versus whatever. It was not, because she said harm to one is harm to everyone. Because that one person's case can be a reflection of a bunch of other people's case or cases. And I was done an injustice. Maybe I wasn't touched. That doesn't downplay or discredit injustice and abuse. Because there's verbal abuse, narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, financial abuse, spiritual abuse, and sexual abuse, sexual exploitation, sexual grooming. And I can't afford a lawyer, and what am I going to tell them? Oh, I don't have that much evidence, and this happened, but what am I going to say? So I just, in the words of the Beatles, I let it be. But I came to the conclusion today, I could die from this. Maybe I'd be missed, I don't know, you look at Charlie Kirk, and he's, probably definitely missed, but like, that's another thing. I was hearing the name Charlie around a lot lately. And someone on my YouTube feed put, "You're next." Like, I'm not kidding. And I want to move so bad. But I also want to do the right thing and follow the law, because I can't afford to. I don't have the money to do so. And using a credit card when I have no money in my bank account, that's illegal. But I also I was robbed of my time, my freedom, my career. And that's corrupt. So the good girl gets the short end of the stick. And because I want to be the good girl and smile and do the right thing, I have to suffer and get tortured. And I go, how am I gonna survive 3 more months of this here? Because Chicago doesn't feel like a home to me. This feels like a jail. No offense to Chicago. But I'm not trying to be like, pessimistic, because that's not my nature. I'm just, if you are someone who's targeted and you've been going through this for a while, I will say this, that, hope there is, but you can create that in some ways. You have to focus on, be productive, focus on things that bring you joy. I did a whole video on it before, and if you have hardcore tangible proof, use it. Go to the police and say, this is what's happening to me. And if they look at you like an alien with like you have something on your forehead, then you say, I'm sorry, you need to take me seriously, because I'm not going to lose my life over this. Because you wouldn't want to either. And if they try to gaslight you, that means that they'd be in on it, and then maybe you need to move somewhere else. I would love to believe that this is all a joke and it was all, just planned and I was being tested. That would be great, but I don't think that's the case. Maybe, but I don't think so. All I know is that maybe the Tattoo Savash's story is important for someone, maybe it could help you. It is a beautiful story, because they ended up, the concentration camp victims ended up getting rescued by the grace of God, thank God. And Hitler, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what they did with him. And he got, they put the doctors on trial. And I forgot the name of the lawyer who prosecuted them, I think rightly so, because those were cruel people. I don't know if that's ever going to happen to me, not get prosecuted, but if I'm ever going to get the justice that I deserve, because I do have sleepless nights. Right now, it's 9:39 in the morning. I'm going to go to sleep right now, because I stay up all night, because my body clock is all askew, and because I don't know whether the next day I'm going to live or die, because I ate my food, and because I guess pissed off somebody who knows a guy who knows a guy. Now my eating certain foods, I feel horrible after. Can you imagine if you eat food and you drink arsenic, or you're drinking thallium? Go look up what thallium does to the body. Hair loss, muscle weakness and paralysis. Botox causes asphyxiation, suffocation, vocal cord paralysis, respiratory failure, heart failure. That's what I have to worry about. So no, my fears are justified. I wouldn't come on the internet and make up a bunch of shit just so people can watch a video. So if you have the ability to affect change, please do it. I'm looking at you, Congress, and the Senate. I shouldn't have to lose my life over this, because if we can put laws into effect to change the trajectory of our taxes, health care benefits, we can surely do the same thing for the people of America. Because technically my life is in your people's hands. And maybe you don't care, but I do. Because one day, your children, or you, it could happen to you. And you had the opportunity, because maybe you came across my video, and instead of scrolling past it, instead of just being a bystander, you could have said, hey, I was the one who helped that girl in Chicago or from Miami. And you could save 1 million lives after that. A lot of people are being wrongfully put on watch lists. A lot of people are wrongfully being labeled as terrorists when they're not terrorists or treated like such. A lot of people are lied about that didn't have any, previous criminal history, or they were framed. False witnesses, fake evidence, false accusations, police reports. That's what people go through. So, you may not care now, but I guarantee you when your niece or nephew, they're dating that one guy or that one girl, then they piss him off and they happen to be a police officer, or they know the guy, and then the daughter comes up to you and says, hey mom, I'm experiencing this, and this in school, or I broke up with Bobby or Darren, and he I think started a rumor about me, and now I can't get a job, and I can't, it's been very difficult. And I'm scared because, I'm seeing his car, or what looks like his car, everywhere, but I'm not sure. I didn't take pictures, but I think I saw his car when I went to the grocery store. And then I think, when I left work, when I was on my way to work, I saw his car. And then when I got into my car to come home, I saw, his car again. And I'm scared, Mom, because, I don't know what to do. And then also, Mom, my computer's being a little funky, and my phone's been acting weird too. And I see these strange men, and I've seen these big cars, like black SUVs around me, and I don't know what that's about. So, Mom, if you could help me, that would be really great. That could be your daughter, your niece, like me. So if you want to turn a blind eye to it and you want to perpetuate that situation, okay, go right ahead. But basically, if I die, then my blood is on your people's hands. God bless. Peace.